Things are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
Welcome to the 100th episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Yes, it has been now 100 episodes since I have been doing this. And in order to go and celebrate this monumental occasion, I have brought in not one, but two very special guest stars. I brought in with me two really good buddies and two cartoon reviewers, and hopefully they will be two unforgettable guest stars here. So please welcome to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, PaleoSteno and Saberspark. Guys, what is up?
Hello.
Hi.
I didn't know it was your 100th episode. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. That's probably one thing I did forget to mention to you guys, but yeah, it is the big 100 now, and might as well go and go big, and bring people like you in to go and bring in some extra fun for this episode, and especially with the stories that I have for everyone today. Oh, I think we definitely will have a lot to go and talk about.
Well, congrats. That's awesome. 100 episodes is not easy.
Oh, definitely not. I've definitely had my ups and downs, but still, it's been quite a fun and incredible journey with this. I mean, I'm having a blast so far, and I don't really see any signs of stopping. But with that said now, Paleo, Saber, I would like to ask you two, are you ready for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yes.
Alright, great. Chat wall, I would like to ask you all, are you ready for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Let me hear it. Are you all prepared and ready? Let's see in the chat wall. Yes. Alright, that is good. And that is great to hear. We are now beginning the 100 celebration. So now let us go and get things started. And with our first story, we might as well start things off with a bang. And this is actually something that just yesterday, they have revealed this news. And it definitely got a lot of people talking. And this may not necessarily be good news, but even during times like this, it doesn't seem to be stopping Disney from announcing more and more live-action remakes. And what I am talking about is going to be the Robin Hood remake. Yes, Disney has revealed that they are going to be making a live-action remake to the 1973 animated classic Robin Hood. They have also mentioned that there are already a few people that will be involved with the project. First of all, we got Carlos Lopez Estrada, the director of the 2018 movie Blindspotting, who will be the director of the film, and also Carrie Granlund will be the writer, which previously she just wrote the live-action remake of Lady and the Tramp, so she has some experience in this. Now, there are three very significant things to mention about this particular remake of Robin Hood. And it's that, number one, this is going to be a Disney Plus exclusive, so it's not going to be released in theaters, but instead, it's just going to be on Disney Plus. Number two, it is going to be a musical, so the same songs that we have heard and loved in the original, like Oodalali Lolly and the Phony King of England, will still be there. And number three, it's still going to be anthropomorphic animals. Yes, apparently, just to read a little bit from my source here on The Hollywood Reporter, it states that the new take is said to be a musical and again will feature the characters as anthropomorphic, this time in a live-action CG hybrid format. So, guys, how do you feel that now Robin Hood is getting the live-action treatment?
This is weird because I'm wondering, since they said it's a hybrid, are they just going to have, like, regular sets with that? Are they not going to, like, make CG sets like they did with Lion King, or are they just going to, like, film or make their own sets and then just film people in mocap suits?
It is possible because, like, I can imagine they'll just be around the forest and all the characters, like all the people are just going to be wearing mocap, and that's it. Because when you think about the sets of Robin Hood, like all you need is just a forest and maybe just a little bit of a village, and that's it.
Yeah, the sets for Robin Hood, they're not that complicated for what they are.
Mm-hmm. And especially the fact that this is just a Disney Plus exclusive. The budget is not going to be as big or tremendous as something like Beauty and the Beast, or how much they put in Mulan, which I think it's like close to 300 million or something. So it's not going to have that big of a budget. So you can't expect this to be like this massive CGI extravaganza.
Yeah. Which I'm wondering, like, how good is it going to look compared to the other remakes, since it is just the Disney Plus exclusive. Because Lady and the Tramp, I watched that when it came out, and I thought it was like on the upper end of the live action remakes, at least for me.
Oh. Okay.
But it was still like, oh, this feels like a budget movie, compared to the stuff in theaters.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that is true. I'm actually surprised. Believe it or not, I have yet to actually see the remake because, well, I didn't really have that much interest in seeing that version, but I am actually kind of surprised to hear that. But honestly, in terms of the visuals, especially the fact that it is going to be limited, it does concern me because they're still committed to do the anthropomorphic animal thing, so how the fridge is that going to look? Saber, do you have a hairpiece in this?
Why can't we just leave Robin Hood alone in general?
Yeah, in general. Do you know how many Robin Hood movies there are?
That is true. I mean, like last time, what is it? We got that Pirates of the Caribbean style movie with Russell Crowe. I remember I did see that at one point on the big screen. It was all right, but then again, it's not the most memorable Robin Hood thing. That is true. We've had a lot of Robin Hoods.
So I recently rewatched Disney's Robin Hood, because like, there are parts about that movie I like a lot, and there's other parts where I'm like, yeah, this kind of the pacing drops here, or like the tone of the movie shifts drastically, because like right after the music scene in the forest where they're dancing after the archery tournament, like the tone shifts from like, yeah, oodalali, to we're gonna kill some prisoners. And that kind of tone still just is very jarring to me. But I guess talking about the remake, I never saw Robin Hood as like this massive thing from Disney that's like worth coming back to. Like,
even if you're like going to remake it, why would you remake it in this style? Remake it in the Zootopia style. That just makes a lot more sense.
Oh, that'd be pretty cool, actually. Is Zootopia style? They won't do that.
Like a CG style like that instead.
My biggest fear right now is that they're going to phone this in, and that sucks, because like everybody's mentioning cats, and if they're not throwing in a big budget to actually make this look good, then it's going to be like, I don't know, Uncanny Valley potentially. So
yeah.
And then also all the actors they had for the original film were fantastic. I'm not sure. Like Peter Ustinov as Prince John is like, you can't touch that. He's one of those actors where he's born to this world, you get to enjoy him for a bit, and he's gone. You'll never see his likes again. And just that sniveling, incompetent character, how it works so well with his voice is just perfection. I don't know who. There's no one off the top of my head right now who I think can even like recreate that.
Yeah, unless they like change the character somehow and like.
Yeah, do like Will Smith with the genie. Just make an entirely new character in a way.
Yeah.
True.
I suppose. I don't know. Or it's just not touch this at all. I've seen people bring up like there are animated films from Disney that are actually good candidates for a live action remake, or not even live action at this point, but you know what I mean, a remake like Treasure Planet. I think that'd be great as a high budget remake. But Disney's like, yeah, no, we lost so much money, we're not even trying to touch that one. Or Atlantis. That could work. But Robin Hood just seems weird to me. I don't know. If anything, this will be a spectacular disaster, which is, a good day for us reviewers. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, like, and you did mention how everybody is comparing to Cats, and that could be another way that it could be compared to Cats as well. That if it is a disaster, then this is going to be something that reviewers will definitely jump into and go crazy over. Because honestly, for me, I would say my one biggest fear of this is not necessarily who are they going to get as the actors, or what scenes are they going to change to modernize this movie, but rather how the characters are going to look. Like, how are they going to interpret a more realistic version of anthropomorphic animals? Like, are they just going to go and do human bodies but with realistic animal heads? Like, that's the one thing that I'm a little bit confused about. It's like, how are you going to go and pull that off in a way that you want to stay true to the live action remake style, and yet try to I don't know, that's something that I feel confused and concerned.
It's, I don't know. I just there's nothing here that I feel like will come close to the original. And the original to begin with, I don't feel like was like spectacular. I don't see that as like, wow, this is one of the golden, like, top tier stuff that Disney's made. It's got things about it that I like with the design of the characters and their personalities and but like the overall story just feels janky to me. And I don't know. I kind of put it around the C range for Disney with their stuff. Maybe like upper C, lower B. But it's just odd to me that Disney's like, this is it. This is the one we're gonna do. And we're gonna put on Disney Plus, and here's your maybe $50 million budget, if even that. Might even be cheaper. So I don't know. And the movie's also pretty short. So I don't know if they're gonna stretch it out or not. I don't know.
Then again, I mean, they've been doing that with plenty of their other remakes before. Like, when you look at many of the other ones, like Sleeping Beauty or Jungle Book, or hell, even Beauty and the Beast, the length of them are really not that long. Like, they can be around like 70 to 80 minutes, and that's pretty much it. And so far, the remakes have been really extending them long, trying to add more.
Yeah, they're putting in a lot of unnecessary like exposition,
or
which,
like
it just didn't need in the original film.
Yeah, or they would throw in like a new song or two, which is probably what they're gonna do for this one. Oh my god. You know, actually, okay, there's probably one thing that they could do that I could forgive them for. And is if one of the songs they will try to add in is any of like those Louis Prima songs. Because I remember there's actually an album out there that Louis Prima ended up getting pissed off because he wasn't in the Robin Hood movie. So in response, he decided to make an entire album dedicated to Robin Hood. Have you ever heard of this?
No, I've not actually. It's interesting.
Yeah, you gotta hear it. And the first album is actually Louis Prima himself acting like King Louis. And the more you listen to it, the more it's actually kind of creepy, actually, because it's King Louis talking to the kids, and he's explaining how, like, oh, me and Robin Hood back then, like, we knew each other, we're good friends and stuff. And it sounds creepy because it almost sounds like he's trying to lure the kids into his truck or something. It's like, hey there, little kid, I know Robin Hood, he's my good friend, come to my band.
Hold tight. So Louis wanted to be Prince John or King Richard, or which character exactly?
He didn't specify. I don't think there is a specification. It's just Louis Prima wanted to be in the Robin Hood movie because he had a great time with the Jungle Book, and he was just upset that he didn't get to be there, so he just made an album and that's it.
That's odd. So it's so strange hearing stories about like famous people who wanted roles in movies, because I'm not sure, I need to verify this, but apparently like didn't like Michael Jackson want to be Jar Jar Binks in Star Wars, and he was like upset that he didn't get the role or something like that. I need to look that up.
I'd never heard of that, but possibly.
I'm gonna look into it, because it could just be, hearsay, but I remember like reading about that and watching a video about that, and how like allegedly the guy who played Jar Jar was at a Michael Jackson concert, and Michael Jackson like discovered that that's the guy who was playing Jar Jar, and was like keeping away from him and giving him like shooting daggers at him, like, how dare you be in my stage. I don't know. This is all allegedly. I need to verify it, but just thinking of Michael Jackson hitting Jar Jar is kind of funny to me.
Now the question is, would that make things better or worse? Like, I don't know. I'm trying to imagine a Michael Jackson Jar Jar, and it's like how would that work?
I got a quote here. I think this is from the guy who played Jar Jar. It says, quote, me, Natalie Portman, and George Lucas's kids, we were at Wembley Arena at Michael Jackson's concert. We were taken backstage and we met Michael. There was Michael and Lisa Marie. George introduced me as Jar Jar, and I was like, quote, thanks, that's kind of weird, Michael. That's kind of weird, end quote. Michael was like, oh, okay. Then the Jar Jar guy's like, I thought, what's going on? After Michael had driven off, we all go back up to a big after party. I'm having a drink with George, and I said, quote, why did you introduce me as Jar Jar? George said, well, Michael wanted to do the part, but he wanted to do it in prosthetics and makeup like Thriller. George wanted to do it in CGI. My guess is ultimately Michael Jackson would have been bigger than the movie, and I don't think he wanted that. So yeah, there you go. I guess Michael wanted to be Jar Jar and do it in like prosthetics.
Oh God. Now okay. Now I know for sure that's even worse. It's like not just Michael Jackson as Jar Jar, but a prosthetics Jar Jar. It's like I don't know, man. It's just I don't want Gungans to be real, man. I prefer them to look like they're CGI. It's like, okay, they're not real. That's a CG thing.
When I was a kid, I feel like I fell right into George Lucas's trap because I was all about the Gungans. Like I wanted all the Gungans. No, hear me out. I straight up would watch the fight scene specifically for the Gungans versus the droids. I wanted to make a Gungan Lego army. I was so hyped over that. And then as I got older, I realized, oh, these guys suck. And I look back on it, kind of like cringe. I'm like, oh man, why did I like the Gungans so much? Jesus, I was all about them. I'm like, yeah, Jar Jar. And then, which in hindsight makes me realize, wow, George was onto something because I fell for that stuff really hard.
Actually, I'm just curious. How do you feel about that theory about Jar Jar being the originally planned as the ultimate bad guy? Have you heard about that story?
I've heard of it. I don't know if it's actually confirmed, if it came from like a reputable source as far as like the writers of Star Wars or George or whatever were like, yeah, that's the plan. But I've heard the idea of like, okay, let it be known though, that I don't know if it was through Sith influence, the Force, but like Jar Jar was the one who was like, hey, so let's give emergency powers to the Chancellor. Like, I don't know if that was Jar Jar being stupid or if it's Jar Jar being like tricked by the Force, but you can point to a single moment where Senator Jar Jar proposed to the, what was it called, the Galactic whatever Senate, like let's give this guy all, you know, encompassing powers. So yeah, Jar Jar is the reason why the Republic fell. Never forget.
Yeah, but we are getting a little bit sidetracked, admittedly.
I'm sorry.
No, it's perfectly fine. Sometimes I really do like these extra bits here. But going back in the subject of Robin Hood, overall, yeah, I'm just really doubting this whole thing. I don't know if this is something that I would really want to watch, and in terms of how it's going to be executed, maybe it could be good. It could turn out better than we think, but so far, the plans that we got from what we're hearing, nothing against the people who are working on it, nothing against Carlos Lopez Estrada, and nothing against Cary Granlund. It's just the idea of a live-action remake of Robin Hood and still keeping them as anthropomorphic animals. I don't know. I feel like so far it seems like a pretty hopeless cause.
Yeah, I don't see the point. It doesn't seem like something where there's a lot of potential with it. Unless, like you said, if it was in like Zootopia style or animation and quality, it could be kind of cool. I'll be like, oh, okay. So the folks who did Zootopia are doing this, and they're doing the Zootopia style. Neat. But even then, if that was the case, I feel like this script's going to require some overhaul, because like I truly believe that after the archery tournament, things kind of got way too dark, way too quickly, and I don't know. It just seemed like a lot of the charm and happy-go-luckiness of the movie was just gone in the movie, and that to me seemed like it was way too big of a tone shift. I mean, again, you went from Dance in the Forest to what was it? Was it the Aristocats that copied Robin Hood, or vice versa? I know that there's dancing stuff that they borrowed.
Well, a lot of the dancing was like from Jungle Book.
Yeah, like Jungle Book, Snow White, and Aristocats. And yeah, it's Robin Hood that copied Aristocats, since Aristocats was the last movie.
Jesus, man, Robin Hood's a hodgepodge of just other films in there. What's that term called again? It escapes me. When you copy over
recycling.
the other...
Recycling animation.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that was to go from that to Friar Tuck getting like beaten up in a graveyard by a sheriff and his vultures. Like actually, Friar Tuck had the sheriff on the ropes. He had a stick and he was like beating his ass with a sheriff had a sword and he was losing. I thought that was pretty funny. Because like, okay, Phil Harris was Baloo. Oh, not Baloo. Lol. With Little John.
Same thing, really.
Really was. Pat Buttram was, I think I'm saying his name right, was the sheriff of Nottingham. Peter Ustinov was Prince John. The other names escaped me, but there's a pretty good voice cast for it.
Oh yeah.
And I know that like it's not like there can only be one voice for a character for all time. The end. But this is going to be difficult if you're trying to recreate it like in that way and find parallels with voice actors. Good luck. So I don't know. I'm not optimistic about this one. I think it could potentially be a big failure, or at least like bad enough to where it'll be enjoyable for how bad it is.
Yeah, I think there is a reason why they're just going to stick it to Disney Plus. I mean, it's not like they have so much hope to the point that they're going to release it on the big screen and make it one of their big motion picture events.
That says something right there.
Mm-hmm. Paleo, do you have any final thoughts on this?
No, I'm just interested to see whenever they release a trailer to what it will look like, because we've seen like the realistic animals from Jungle Book and The Lion King, but seeing the realistic anthropomorphic animals is going to be really weird.
If I was in charge of making a trailer, I'd probably do a Udalali song with some visuals to go along with it, or the beginning song with them walking in place through a picture book. I think it'd be kind of cool. A picture book, but through the pages of a book.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. The way that I imagine the trailer, like, I imagine they're just gonna emphasize like a lot of the action scenes, and we're gonna hear like an epic soundtrack version of Udalali, probably throughout the whole thing. I mean, that's what they've been doing so far with these trailers.
How would you even do that? That'd be interesting. Interesting, good or bad. I don't know. It depends on how it goes. Interesting. All right, word.
Yeah, so now I want to go into the chat wall and pass on the mic to them, and I would like to ask you guys, what do you all think about the live-action remake of Robin Hood? Is it something that you guys would like to go and see? Do you think this is a good idea, or are you more on our side and you feel doubtful and probably a little bit scared too? Let me know what you all think. Alright, let's see what we got here. I hope this will be as enjoyable as Lady and the Tramp. I watched that one, and I personally think it's one of the best live-action remakes from Disney, right up there with The Jungle Book. It stays a lot true to the 1955 classic, although it changes some of the elements. However, I didn't expect something like this to exist. If the director can bring the spirit of the 1973 film on this one, then I'm interested. If not, then I'm doubtful. Okay, that's fair. Let's see now. I've only seen the original movie once, and from what I remembered, it was a decent movie, but I don't see the need for this to be remade. I get why they want to make it, cause money of course, but at least it's on Disney Plus and not in theaters. Also, get ready for people to complain that it's either a live-action or CGI film, similar to what happened to the Lion King remake. Oh crap, is that debate gonna return? Oh no. Oh god, those discussions are a nightmare to deal with when The Lion King was out. Oh man. Anyways, to be fair, I could see this one being better than the Lion King remake, because here's one big problem with the live-action Lion King. The original 1994 film was nearly flawless, almost to the same level as Beauty and the Beast. Well, while I did enjoy Robin Hood, it had a lot of flaws like reused animation and some scenes pacing inconsistencies. I was hoping this remake would be more reminiscent to Zootopia. Speaking of which, I am curious to what Zootopia remake would look like in 20-30 years. Actually, it just made me realize something. Like, does it, like, considering that they have like the original recycled elements from the past movies, do you think in the live action remake of Robin Hood they would go and recycle elements from like past live action remakes?
Oh
Like,
my god, would Little John just be Baloo from Jungle Book? The live action Jungle Book?
oh my god.
We're really staying on point with that.
Yeah. Or like many of the dance scenes, like with Robin and Maid Marian, they're somehow falling in love, and they're gonna dance the same way as Belle and Beast in the Beauty and the Beast remake, or something like that. I don't know. That should be. If you want to stay true to remaking Robin Hood, then you got to recycle elements from past live action remakes. I'm just saying. Okay. Let's see now. For some people, this news is horrifying, but for Warner Brothers, they're looking at this and saying, hold my beer, and decided to make a live-action remake of Cats Don't Dance. Well, that's not necessarily true. I'm guessing this is a joke. Also, I only have this, I only have this to say that can improve an idea. Have Tim Curry voice Prince John. Tim
Curry's not really doing stuff anymore, though, is he?
Nah.
Yeah, he's not in the best shape.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to put it. I mean, like, in theory, that would be a great idea, but I don't know. It's probably best to pass the torch to someone else. But I will say, like, I did think about the idea of, like, who could play Prince John, and there is one idea that's in my mind. Like, yeah, he's no Peter Ustinov, but could probably bring his own flair onto the character, and I'm thinking maybe like Steve Martin or maybe Mike Myers, or more Steve Martin though.
Something that's going to be challenging because Peter Ustinov.
Oh yeah.
There are actors who have that natural, like, this is just what they bring to the table as this is their voice, and then hone it with practice and direction, and it can be even more than that. And Peter, his voice fell so it worked perfectly as the sniveling, because when you listen to Prince John's voice, it's not kingly. Though it's funny because he can do a kingly voice, because I know that he was the King Richard, but he had to boost it a bit more and make it sound more like, regal. But Prince John sounded like, he's a weak, small little man who barks really loud, but also falters as soon as force shows up. He because Peter Ustinov was also in Spartacus, and he also kind of filled that same role to a degree of like, I'm a very good slave owner, and someone who like is there to please people. And I know that's different from Prince John's character, but I don't know. I just see Peter's voice is gonna be hard. I mean, I have high praise for Peter. I think Prince John's character and the casting for it's some of my favorite for an animated film ever. So like that's just seems incredibly difficult to make it work. I haven't watched Aladdin, because I mean it can be said also that like recasting Robin Williams as Genie is also, nigh impossible. So I guess in regards of like we can't recapture Robin, that's impossible. So let's go in a new direction. And I guess like I'm not sure if you all can testify to this, but were they able to do that with Will Smith as Genie?
Well, for at least in my opinion, Will Smith didn't recapture Robin Williams, but what he did as his own interpretation of the Genie is actually one of the better things of that movie.
Yeah, I agree with that. A lot of people were thinking that Will Smith was going to be like one of the worst part of the movies, one of the worst parts of the movie, but actually he's one of the best parts.
That's what I was wondering. I wasn't sure if like at that point, if you just wash your hands of, it's like we cannot do justice to Robin Williams and what he did with his personality and his direction. So Will Smith, you do Will Smith as Genie. So embrace what makes you you. Okay, word. Okay, I need to watch that film.
Yeah, just check it out once and see for yourself. It's one of those movies that it is worth seeing, but only once, so you can have an opinion and see how that goes.
All right, word. I agree. I'll check it out. I'm not a huge fan of the live action stuff. Whatever. That's not really an unpopular opinion.
Yeah. And you've made a few videos talking about that subject. Am I correct?
I have. I haven't touched it in a while, but yeah, they're just, to me, pale. They pale in comparison. So
Yeah, true. I'll go and read one more, and then we're gonna jump on to our next story. Let's see. I'll go with which one should I go with? Okay, here. I'm all for another Robin Hood movie. But if they're remaking the 1973 version complete with anthropomorphic animals, yikes. Can't imagine how it would turn out, unless they took a page from Zootopia in terms of character design. Yeah, they could. They could. Just make sure you don't freak us out with the character designs. That's all I'm asking. Okay, so now that we got all that covered, it is now time that we're going to go and jump onto our next story. And with the next one, I want to talk about the latest animated feature that's taking a brave turn, that decided to do something a little bit unique by going straight to video on demand. And I am talking, of course, about Trolls World Tour. And this week, we have seen a lot of articles coming in and discussing about Trolls World Tour because unlike all the other movies that decided to go and delay their release date until it is more safe for people to go onto theaters and go check the movies out, Trolls World Tour decided they're going to immediately go and put it on video on demand for everyone to go and see. And from there, we got articles like The Guardian discussing about the possibility that Trolls World Tour is going to be the big tester to see if things are going to be different in the future, if this becomes successful or not. In fact, even the title of this Guardian article is said to be, "Is Trolls World Tour the most important film of 2020?" Now, for the articles that I'm going to be talking about here, I highly recommend you guys go and read them yourselves because they really are fascinating to look at. But a quick summary for this article here, for Trolls World Tour, it did mention that if it is successful, then this definitely will be starting a new chapter in terms of how Hollywood is going to be distributing their movies, but also at the same time, they even stated that if this is successful, then it will emphasize the power of animation and how that can strongly adapt even during tough times like this. Just to read a little bit from my source here on The Guardian, it says, the great Hollywood shutdown means live-action movies have ground to a halt. Hollywood animation studios have shut down, but the work continues remotely. In fact, it is theoretically possible to make a movie like Trolls World Tour without anyone actually meeting face-to-face. But recently also, there is another article that I found, which is from Variety, called Trolls World Tour Straight to Streaming, Signs of Times or the New Normal, which discusses about why specifically this movie in particular is being the guinea pig of going straight to VOD instead of something that would be bigger. Like, why did Universal pick this one instead of Fast 9 or Minions Rise of Gru? And they argued that it is because, considering that it is a sequel to an animated film, if it would be released in theaters, then it wouldn't necessarily do that well anyways. Like, last year, we have seen a lot of animated sequels that didn't do well at the box office, or didn't even make half as much as its predecessor, like Angry Birds 2, Lego Movie 2, and Secret Life of Pets 2. And they even argued that regarding if it would be successful or not, we wouldn't 100% know, because they argued that Universal is not going to be releasing any of the numbers regarding the success or the flop of Trolls World Tour, because that would frustrate the movie theaters even more than they already have. Like, already Universal is, movie theaters are completely pissed off that they released Trolls World Tour on straight to video on demand. So the only way we would know that this actually does work is if Universal announces that there's going to be a Trolls 3. So, Guys, I would like to have your opinion on this. I already discussed this a little bit regarding if this is going to be a game changer in cinema history and stuff like that. But how do you feel about if Trolls World Tour is going to make an impact with going straight to video on demand?
So, I talked to Paleo about this,
Mm-hmm.
about why at this point, like DreamWorks and they have no choice but to move forward. I mean, all the merchandise that I imagine is ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Oh
big-
yeah.
a big thing about it is like that's a huge moneymaker, and I do imagine that the business suits of it all are like, okay, this is a really awful situation financially for the entire world right now. People are tightening their belts. We're kind of screwed regardless. Push it online. Let's ride the wave of Trolls at Home. You know, maybe that's a trendy thing people might get excited about, might see it as a bit of reprieve from the cold reality of us all, you know, our economy collapsing, and that it's a good candidate to test it out. Worst case scenario, it's a wash, write off your taxes, move on. And these big studios can absorb those hits, especially DreamWorks. And is it Comcast who owns them, I believe?
Universal.
Yeah.
Universal
Yeah,
Comcast.
it's
Yeah.
Comcast.
Yeah.
So that being said, I agree with you, Matt. Where or I see your notion of where it could potentially be a game changer. Because like if I was joking with Paleo saying, wouldn't it be funny if this thing just is like a massive success where it's like, whoa, we got a ton more people who watch this at home. It was what the hell? Like we weren't expecting it to be this good. So I guess, or it could be a complete flop where it's like, nope, it's just not there. People don't care, or people are at the moment right now don't want to spend the money on it because they're trying to save money for essentials. So it could go either way. It all depends on customers and where they want to what they want to do with the limited money they do have. And because I watched it, I liked it. I thought the film was fun. I thought it was better than the first one. I think it was more interesting with the different culture. Oh, are we going to talk about the film itself, or are we going to wait
Yeah,
for
no,
that?
no. We can do it.
So yeah, I
Yeah.
thought it was much more enjoyable than the first one. There was more going on as far as like, oh, the world building, the different trolls.
Yeah, I saw somebody on Twitter talk about like, oh yeah, Trolls World Tour is about white colonialism. I was like, what? Oh, wait a
What?
minute, that makes sense. Yeah, it's you could also like say it's more about like crusades because they're going to other like nations and other like trolls that do different music and like saying no, our music is the better music. And I was like, it's like
Are
the
you telling
Crusades, the
me
Christian
it's
Crusades.
It's religion. Son of a gun. Oh my god, when those European crusaders arrived in techno world and fought over Constantinople. So okay, I can see that being a comparison.
Yeah.
Though I wouldn't imagine it was what the creators of the movie were like. That's what we're talking about. This is representing the Crusades. No, I think it's interesting because like music is inherent to most human, you know, the majority of humanity. You know, it's been with us for a
Yeah.
long time. It continues to grow. It's got a lot of variety, and to take that variety and to find fictional cultures through it, that was cool. Like, oh, the techno trolls, they look the way that they do because of the music, and the country trolls and the funk trolls. I like that, and it's cool to see rock and roll get some attention after Guitar Hero. So that was. You know, I'm right. So that was nice. I like Barb. I like that they broke the trolls, the main characters from the last film. They were all in a big old like, you know, oh, this is our group going to the Bergens. And this time it's like, no, we're going to split off into smaller groups. They even addressed that in the film, and that worked well. I thought it was fun, good pacing, fun music. It's not like a film that's incredibly like this. It's nothing really contemplating about it or contemplating kind of storyline where it's like, wow, this is really making me think. It's like, nah, it's pretty surface level. It's music. It's about Poppy being a bit of a, she's putting her fingers in her ears, not listening to Branch. She's very tunnel vision. That was a thing for her to grow out of. And
although I will say that a part of me does feel like they really did dumb down Poppy. Like, that's one problem I have with the film, is that I feel like with a lot of the decisions she has done, it's like, I get that they want to try to make her grow as a character, to give her a character arc to grow as a queen. But then there are times that I feel like, okay, they really made her dumber than she should. Like, she has done a lot of decisions where she would come in and she would add into the situation that just somehow makes things worse. It's like a lot of like, there are some things that I feel like, okay, Poppy, you only have yourself to blame for stuff like that.
Well, she's got that tunnel vision, and in the first film, I do agree that her character is a bit more engaging in the first film. I wasn't like, oh man, I am just so on board because Branch and Poppy are so interesting and compelling, and I want to see what happens. It's more of a, I want to see the different kinds of cultures and worlds. That was my favorite part of the movie, just seeing like, okay, we're arriving to Funkyland. I'm like, cool, let's see it.
Yeah,
Let's
and
see
like
it.
all the they got really creative with the textures and the different environments.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The animation is like the best thing in the movie, honestly. Like, I might sound insane by saying this, but I would say this is almost Spider-Verse level of creativity, and also like with the variety of styles that they even play out. Like, even with some of the character animation, like, you notice some of them are different from one another, like the different creatures, the different trolls and stuff.
Yeah. Like Saber, you were pointing out that in the country trolls where they live, like the desert is just like a big quilt.
It's quilts. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I liked how, like, early on in the Pop Empire, Pop Land, or whatever it's called, Kingdom, the glitter for the waterfall, or the little, like the bits of silver string. Ribbons, there you go.
Yeah.
I think that's it. There's something to be said, and credit where credit is due, where the people who made this movie said, let's make this universe fun with the textures, with the particles, with the what makes up the landscape, what makes up the animals. That's cool. That's worth giving props to, saying you all were different in that regard in the first film, and you ran with that and expanded on it in the second film. I like that a lot. The Paleo, you noticed that the shoreline between the quote unquote water and the land was like the seams of a quilt, or seams of like, oh, there's like how you would
like fabric.
A fabric. There you go.
Yeah.
That was cool. I think that's really neat. It adds an extra layer to the film that makes it fun, and also for the world building. And I enjoyed that.
Yeah. No, I definitely do agree. Like, it's the animation and the world building that I thought is so genius. In fact, like the whole world building itself, like, if it weren't for the fact that this is a troll sequel, I think that whole world building is worth having a movie alone, because I do love the idea of the way they mix, like, they actually mix a musical genre with an element. Like, you see the water techno world, and then you also got the desert country world, you got the lava filled rock world, and like, you know, and it goes on. Like, that I find to be pretty cool, and visually they really took advantage of that, where like it actually does feel immersive, and and it actually does feel pretty creative, where the possibilities just feel endless of all the things that you can do with both the music and the visuals, with what you can do by mixing the elements with the musical genre, and especially with the textures as well, with the kind of fabric that they play. It's actually really cool that, like, I don't know if you noticed, but like in each world they actually play with the textures of the fashion of the music. Like, in the country world, you'll notice how like all the textures are based on what country people usually wear. Or like with or rock, for example, that's probably a great one, where everything is more leather, everything is more black, everything is like ripped jeans material. Like, you do see a lot of that combined together, and that is a great technical achievement there.
Yeah, which is again, that's a good way to build your world and have it reflect like the people that inhabit different regions and what they're about. And also, like, okay, are we good to talk about spoilers, or should we refrain for now?
Well, yeah, okay, you know what? I'll just say right now, for those of you who don't want to hear any spoilers or anything like that, then I advise maybe just to, well, put the volume on mute for now, or hold on. Actually, no,
I mean,
we'll also
we,
chat. What?
we
Go
can
on.
just. I'm cool with just. I don't have to say spoilers. I was just gonna allude to something they did in the film, which
Okay.
we've all seen the movie, so we'll all know what we're talking about.
Okay.
So this isn't a spoiler. Well, it's a spoiler, but I'm not going to be direct about it. There was something in the film that was a twist. Paley, you mentioned it, and you said you liked it,
Yeah.
where there was a big reveal of the kingdoms
Oh,
and
right.
and that was cool. Where it's like, okay, so that's a good way to put things in perspective. Where Poppy's like, yes, Pop is great, and we're always hug and we're loving and we do things right, and it's like, well, let's talk more about this. So that was a nice little twist. My biggest gripe in the film is in reference to that, where, oh, shoot, how can I say this without spoiling? I won't. I don't know. I thought there was a bit of a logic flaw with Barb and what she was trying to accomplish, and
Yeah.
resentment she was carrying along the way. Where I'm like, that doesn't make sense unless you really expand on it or you clear it up. So there is that. But all in all, this was a fun movie. Had good energy. At times, it was a bit hyperactive, where it's like, okay, this is playing up to kids and being colorful and quick paced and silly
Yeah.
humor, which is
One
fine.
one advantage of this coming out on video on demand is that I have to deal with an audience, so I can
Right?
hear all of the dialogue, and I can rewind if
totally
I miss
fine.
something.
Dude, if they keep doing this, where they're like, we're gonna release Godzilla versus King Kong on direct to video on demand or whatever, I'm like, yeah, sweet, let's do it. I don't want to go to the movie theater, so yeah, keep doing this.
Yeah.
This virus, things are going to be the same after this potentially.
Yeah, that is true. But actually, that does bring up a good question, because one thing that I did forget to mention is the fact it's regarding the price, because this is not necessarily a cheap movie. I believe it's a 48-hour rent where the price is $20. Do you think the price itself is worth it?
No, because
No.
that's more than the average movie ticket price.
They are calculating right now families who watch this, and they're
Yeah.
calculating a parent and their two kids. So that's why they're pricing it up the way they are. Because when you go to the theater, it's going to be like, oh, it's me and my kids, my two kids. It's going to be like, oh, that'll be what, $30 plus snacks if you get those two. Versus, like, I can see why they're pricing where they are pricing it, and this is uncharted territory, because it could be way overpriced, or it could be way underpriced, or people just don't care to watch to begin with, or people love it. It's we won't know until we get results or the information from DreamWorks of like how this went.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
And that's the thing. We won't. And just like I said in the Variety article, they're not going to say it, because if we do know any results, then that's just going to upset the movie theaters. Like, even if we know if they're good or bad, regardless, knowing the results of how things are going with video on demand, they're just going to be angry, especially if it indicates that, hey, look, the results are going pretty well. Guess we won't need movie theaters. And, but here's actually a very interesting question, and this might sound crazy, but I would like to know. I'm sure there are many people out there that would love to have this be the future, that they want to have more movies that would go straight on demand. So if they would like this to have this be their future, should they go and spend their money on Trolls World Tour? Should they go and support it?
Wait, rephrase. I'm sorry. My brain turned off for a second.
Okay.
So one more time.
For people who want this to be their future, for people who want to have more movies be released straight to video on demand instead of waiting for it to be released in theaters, should they go and support Trolls World Tour? Should they actually spend their money on Trolls World Tour for more movies to come out on video on demand directly?
So it's not like I want movie theaters to go extinct. I think they have a place in society, and they offer an experience that a home theater really can't. Like, I've only been to one home theater in my life, and when I say home theater, I'm referring to, watching on your own TV in your own home.
Okay.
An actual home theater I've only been to once. My friend back in high school was super rich, and they had a home theater in their basement. It was awesome. And that's a hard experience to capture for the average going person because it's expensive. So going to the movie theater is the next best thing. There's upsides of it: big screen, big sound, even the 4D experience of your chair shaking. And then there's a cultural side of it all. Like, yeah, we're going to the theater. We're going to be there's a group. We're going to eat popcorn and drink our Slurpees and just enjoy the heck out of this film. And there's the downsides of there's a kid screaming, or someone really smells, or the audience is being obnoxious. Someone's looking at their phone, which to me, whenever that happens, that can just ruin a film completely. Like, there's no salvaging it. I went to see Toy Story 4, and there was a person in the audience who smelled so bad that I moved. I was like next to them in the back row, and I moved to the front row and put my hoodie over my face. I could still smell them. I'm like, good Lord, like this is unacceptable. Like someone drag this person out into the streets and leave him there. But having it in my own home, if I'm watching on my TV downstairs and it's like, okay, is it the big screen experience? No. Is it big sound? No. Is it 4D chairs? No. But is it a controlled environment of my own, and I can get drunk and watch this and I don't have to drive home? Sweet, let's do it. Like, that's cool. I'm totally fine with that. So there's upsides and downsides. So as far as like paying money to Trolls to see that it ensures that future of opening possibilities of a world of watching these theatrical films immediately at your home, I wouldn't say we owe it to Trolls. Like, it needs to do smashing numbers in order to convince. Because I think these movie theaters and distributors are going to be super slow dinosaurs, even like talking about this.
Yeah, because even though like this is like a major theater release that was pushed to video on demand, we've already had that happen with movies going to streaming services like Netflix. That for movies that were meant to be for theaters, but then got pushed onto streaming.
Yeah, that is true.
I don't see it. I don't see it overnight. I don't see it happening. I mean, maybe it might put an inkling of a thought where it's like, well, maybe we can open up a new venue or avenue, whatever, but we can still maintain theaters and do both. Maybe, I don't know. Or maybe it's something where they'll release it. It's just weird when you have a system that's so firm and planted as movies to video and how they go about it. It's going to be hard to change that system unless they are really hemorrhaging money for a long time. And because money is power. Money's gonna make them think. It's gonna make them rethink the system if it's not working. And I guess their hopes right now is this virus will be done hopefully by the end of summertime, and it's back to business. We don't have to change anything. Back to work. So if this goes on to the end of the year or goes on longer than that, then they'll have to start rethinking things. Yeah. So it all depends on how long this goes on for.
Yeah, and I mean, I've said this many times, but with this with this virus, the best thing we can do is just take it one step at a time. And I mean, like, Trolls World Tour is just like brand new, so we'll just have to wait and see if families are going to be consuming this movie, and we'll see if it really pays off or not.
I feel like movies are kind of like, I wouldn't say they're recession proof, because I feel like give it a few weeks, we'll be here in a recession. Give it some time. But that being said, there are certain things that like are more resilient to recessions, like candy, booze, and I think movies count too, because I feel like movies are like they don't cost a ton. It's enough money to spend where it's like, okay, I'll price this in my finances, but it's not going to break the bank, and it's enough to get out there and like just relax. Mm-hmm. But since this virus has stolen away theaters, it's like that's going to change things up now. So I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we definitely will. So
what a bummer of a topic, right? This dumb virus.
Yeah. But anyways, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I want to ask you guys, do you think Trolls World Tour will become a success or not? Do you feel like Trolls World Tour might become that game changer for movie distribution? Do you think not? Let me know what you all think. And also, if you have your little piece on what you think about Trolls World Tour, don't be afraid to go and explain it. All right, so let's see here. I could see this actually working, but only with movies with a low budget. For example, Trolls World Tour, which has a budget of $90 to $100 million, could actually profit from this. But a movie like Toy Story 4, which had a budget of $200 million, would cause the company to lose a lot of money. So my thoughts are that we keep big budget movies in the cinemas, while where there are audiences are more willing to spend money, while low budget movies could be placed on streaming services. It's not a bad idea, and I mean technically that is how it's going on right now. Like that's what we are seeing, that more low budget features are moving on to streaming services, while the big budgeted features are on the big screen. I think that's what it is happening. That's what's happening right now, actually. Let's see.
But just so it's said again, like a big part of this though is like again the merchandise, because like even if the film's a failure, I guarantee they're talking about the toys that they already have like ready to go, and they're like, well, even if we lose money in the theater, we'll still make a profit with our merch because like this stuff is ready to be on the shelves. Now the question is, not only will the movie lose money, which in a way serves as a platform for advertising, but are people even going to spend money on toys right now? So I don't know. It's confusing.
You do bring up a good point, because technically Trolls is not necessarily considered an essential item. And I mean, most of the markets where Trolls would actually go sell their merchandising, they're not open, except for like probably Walmart, and that's it.
Yeah.
But it is true that in the case of Trolls World Tour, they've already spent so much on marketing and stuff that it's kind of too late to go back and to delay their release and try to make a new marketing tactic all over again. Like, they've already spent their money on that. It would be too expensive to try to make another one. So, I mean, like, in a way, you could say they had no choice on the matter because they've already spent so much money on the marketing. Let's see. We got
real fast. One last thing, if you don't mind me saying it. So I looked up Trolls World Tour on Amazon, and it has reviews where people are just ticked off because of the $20 rental. A lot of 1-stars reviews. I get that this is a special because it should have been in the theater and all the justification. The only option being a 48-hour rental. This is annoying. I'll do as little of these rentals as possible. The pricing is just off. Another one. I'm not spending $20 only to have the video for 48 hours, only to have my kids want to watch it again at hour mark 50. If I want to watch I think this is interesting because folks need to realize this isn't a video like that's been released, like a movie that's been released to video. It's different.
Yeah, I think the problem is that the $20 price is the same price it would be once it comes out on video demand. Like for something that you own rather than rent, that's going to be the same price.
People are ticked off because they're seeing it as like why would I pay $20 for a 48-hour rental when it's like, I guess it all depends on you as a person, like your situation. Because like, I mean, I live alone as a single person, so $20 for a 48-hour rental is ridiculous. Like, come on now. But if it's a family of 2 parents and 2 kids, then $20 for all 4 of them is pretty solid. So I guess it depends. What an interesting case study. We're gonna look back on this as a case study for cinematic history. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I think at this point, Trolls World Tour will make a mark in cinematic history. But is it going to be good or bad? That is going to be something that only time will tell.
Remains to be seen. All right, uncool. That's my piece about Trolls World Tour. I'm done.
Anyways, even though this strategy could work very well for Universal, I really hope that other studios keep releasing their animated films in theaters. I really want to see Scoob and SpongeBob get released on the big screen because I don't want theaters like AMC to go bankrupt. Going to the cinema feels more rewarding than watching a film at home. Also, according to Deadline, Trolls World Tour needs to have 9 to 12 million people renting it to break even. Which, in hindsight, that doesn't really sound that much, if only 9 to 12 million people. I feel like that could actually be achievable.
It all depends, because this is a family... Here, I lied. I'm talking about it again. Because it all depends on like this is one. You have to price it by household, and that can vary and how many people are there. So you don't. It's not just people. It's accounts, which are homes. So it's going to be a bit of a a steeper goal compared to individuals. So I don't know. I'm looking at AMC stock right now because you're talking about AMC going out of business. So their stock 6 months ago, let's say here, I'll put in the ballpark range of December 2019. It was $8 per share. Right now, it's closing last Thursday. It's $2.60 per share. AMC is not. Ooh. They are not having a good day. I mean, most of these companies are not having a good day, but AMC in particular is like, oof, man. Now that being said, I might buy some of this stuff because if the quarantine gives up here by the end of the summertime, I think theaters might have a pretty big rebound because if people are being unemployed, if people are losing their money, theaters won't break your wallet. So it could potentially be a place where it's like, okay, I got cabin fever. I want to get out of the house. Quarantine's done. I'm going to the movie theater. So AMC could have a renaissance era ahead of them, but it all depends if they go bankrupt before or not. So I guess we'll see. Yeah. Okay, now I'm done. I swear, I'm done.
Actually, you do bring up a good point. I might consider, like, after this podcast, it's like, okay, I'm gonna go to my stocks. I need to invest on a few things.
If you have not done stock markets before, or stock markets, if you've never done the economy before, let me tell you. No, right now, a lot of things are record time, not record lows, but like, well, I guess relative to eras, but they're low right now. So to the audience, to people listening right now, if there ever was a time to look at stocks and think about buying some, now's the time, because you can probably buy from any company. There's a good chance a year from now you will make a profit. So yeah.
Trust me, I've been having experience for a month.
I've Googled the stock market and read the Wikipedia page. I have quite the repertoire of knowledge.
Well then, let's see now. I think the movie will be successful, but I don't think it will be a big game changer because of the situation we live in. As for the movie, while some plot elements felt weak, I still thought it was a worthy follow-up to the first film, 9 out of 10. Okay, that's fair enough. Let's see. I've had a crappy experience with Avengers Endgame. Some a-hole keeps booing and yelling at the movie every time Captain Marvel was there. It was so bad we had to watch it again. Oh.
Ooh, man. Dang.
It's such a you never know what you're gonna get.
I've never been to a movie theater where somebody booed at the screen.
I don't think
I've never had that happen before.
I don't think I've ever had that either, honestly. Or I don't know, like the most that I could think of, like the most that I've been, like, the rowdiest kind of people. I remember I was at a midnight premiere of the last Harry Potter film, of Deathly Hallows Part 2. I'm trying to remember if there were boos, like, whenever, like, Voldemort or one of the villains would appear. I don't know. There could be a possibility, but it's been, like, years ago, though.
My girlfriend's roommate back in the day, when he went to go see The Last Jedi, had a funny experience that he told me about how there's that scene where the ship went light speed and like destroyed all the Star Destroyers.
Oh yeah.
And how, of course, that scene had that silence to it, which is, props to props. It was a good scene. But my buddy, the roommate, was like, yeah, it was funny because that scene happened and the theater was quiet. And he said this kid goes, "Daddy, what happened?" So you just hear a kid say that in complete silence. The dad go like, "Quiet, Andrew." So that was pretty good.
Oh my god!
I wish I was there to see that. That's a theater experience where I'm like, yeah, because like there are some. Okay, I just.
Oh my god! That reminds me.
Yeah. Go ahead. What's up?
Reminds me when I go see Sonic, like. There's a point where Sonic like faints, and there was this one kid that said Sonic the Hedgehog is dead. He just said that out loud.
Really?
That sounds like a meme, dude.
Wow. Yeah.
Sonic is dead. Dun, 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 dun.
Actually, I might have one story. Have you guys seen Rise of the Planet of the Apes?
Yes.
Okay, I remember me and my friends, we went to go and watch it, and there was at one point that it was the moment when the kid who played Draco Malfoy, like, he was abusing the monkeys, the chimpanzees, and then Caesar, like, he had enough, and like he was trying to fight Draco Malfoy, and that's when he said the famous line, like, "Get your filthy paws off me." Yeah, it's like, "Get your filthy paws off me, you damn dirty ape!" And then Caesar was just there like, "No!" And then the full silence like happened afterwards. And my friend next to me, he was watching it like, "What the fuck?" Like, just a full silence, and then we just heard him on the side. Oh my god, it was such a golden opportunity there. Oh my god. Anyways, I'll read one more before we jump on to the next story. Let's see here. Well, technology will always keep evolving. One day, cinemas will be a thing of the past, and digital home media, perhaps, will be the dominant medium for the entertainment industry. In the past, we used reels and tapes. Nowadays, we record and film digitally. Even CDs will be obsolete. I heard some people can get a migraine after going to a cinema, and home media is easier on the eyes. Also, going to cinemas can be exhausting as it requires a bit of a walk, even to those who have a walking disability. I mean, like, that could be possible. You never know in the future. Alright, so, on to the next story. What we have here is actually a trailer. And what we are going to be watching is something that will be the new chapter to an admired animator, which is the creator of Adventure Time, Penn Ward. And he has a brand new series that's going to be coming up, and which is going to be released on Netflix. So let's go ahead and check out the trailer for his upcoming animated series, The Midnight Gospel. All right, there we go.
Yeah.
Merging with simulator in 3, 2, 1.
Aloha.
Which universe will you choose today?
My name's Clancy. Clancy! Could I interview you for my space cast? Are you worried because it seems like we're all about to die?
Is that a yes? What does death look like to you? I think we need to simplify this.
Your life that you thought was real was just a dream.
Holy shit. Are you a metaphor?
Stop fighting it. Face the void.
Just be here now.
Okay, cut to commercial.
And that was The Midnight Gospel. That's going to be coming on April 20th on Netflix. So, guys, what did you think of this trailer? What did you think of Penn's new project?
I think it's awesome. But Pale,
yeah.
Actually, Pale, you're the resident Adventure Time fan, so go off.
Okay, yeah, so I always hear, like, I've heard this a lot with Adventure Time, where I was like, oh yeah, they must have been high when making that cartoon. No, this is the cartoon they're talking about. Like, with, like, the Midnight Gospel like seems so much trippier than what Adventure Time is. So it's going to be very interesting, especially since it's going to have a lot more adult stuff in it. So it's Pendleton Ward is just like Unchained with this one.
Yeah, one thing I will say is that I think it really does highlight the big difference between psychedelic geared towards kids and psychedelic geared towards adults. Like with the psychedelic for kids, like it's going to be a little bit more colorful and more vibrant, but there are some limits. Now that Pendleton Ward is free to do like all the adult stuff that he would want to do, now he has no limits. And yeah, it results in a lot more weird and psychedelic imagery. So I think it really does emphasize the big difference on that. So I think like first things first, before like I think this is the kind of thing that you would have to watch twice. Like first you need to watch it, then you have to see it a second time because now you are used to the weird psychedelic imagery that you just witnessed. But oh boy, but I will say, like, at least I can, like, from what I have seen, like, even like with all the weird imagery that we have witnessed, like, I could see where the plot, there is still a story. Like, this is still about this guy that wants to do a podcast, and he's going in these different universes to find people to like have an interview with them. So there is a little bit of a story. There is some characters that are there. In fact, I believe it's stated that it is inspired by the Duncan Trussell Family Hour podcast, which they do have Duncan Trussell as the star of the show, I believe.
I like how abstract Penn can get with his creations, because Adventure Time had enough of a string of logic and like here's the common denominator with like, you know, the land of Ooh and it being weird and crazy, but still like, you know, it's a place where there's like, I don't know, you can still live as a person. There's a treehouse and walk around, and I guess that doesn't make much sense. What I'm getting at is that this one seems a lot more nebulous with like the craziness of it all and the probably like topics they'll be addressing. So fully embrace Pendleton and his craziness and his team and what they'll come up with and how they're most likely be a lot more mature with it, but in a tasteful way, Lord willing. So
True, you can trust Pendleton Ward to create something good with it. Like there will be a lot of depth to this, and you actually do bring up something very interesting that does actually make more sense with the world compared to Adventure Time, because Adventure Time does have a little bit more of a fantasy theme with its psychedelic nature, whereas this one there's a lot more of a space theme, especially if you look at the poster. Like you see all the different planets and asteroids that are surrounding the characters. So it does give a little bit of a context and a theme to all the psychedelic elements that you see that's surrounding this world, that doesn't actually make it random. Where there is like this, there is some logic, there is a connection to this world where at first nothing seems like it's making sense, but like I'm sure by watching the show, there are some set of rules and there are some there is some logic that's actually put into it. And oh my god, I just actually realized something. It's like, it's kind of stupid but also pretty hilarious. Like, this is a a really trippy kind of show, yet the release date is April 20th. I see
420.
I see what Netflix did there. I see what you're doing with this. I got you there.
And I was gonna say, with this, it's inspired by a podcast, which is it's not like the first cartoon that is like based on a podcast or anything, because like there's a bunch of podcasts that have been animated into their own shows. And there's also what is that one show that's coming out, Saber, I think you might know what I'm talking about, where they do like this D&D campaign, and it's being made into a show.
Critical Role.
Critical Role, yeah.
Yes, okay, I know what you're talking about as well. Yeah, that one.
So it's interesting how like podcasts are getting stuff based on them. I never think that would be so, because I understand like, you know, stuff like the Ricky Gervais show where it was based on his podcast where he was just interviewing Carl Pilkington.
Well, it's the internet, dude. It's
yeah.
People are growing up on it now, and that's where the eyes are on. It's on the internet, so I guess it's just going where the popularity is.
Yeah,
but this is more like inspired by the podcast. It's not like from the podcast itself. It's just I guess inspired. I was saying the same thing twice.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Like this is only like this is just inspired. And by the way, for Critical Role, what you just mentioned, just a little bit of a reminder. I don't like, maybe you're not 100% sure if you know this, but that show that's gonna be coming out on HBO Max, is it?
I don't know.
I'm not 100% sure, but I know what show you're talking about, and I got a feeling that it's gonna be released on. It will be released on a streaming service, but
I thought it was Amazon. There was one of the bigger streaming services snatched it up. I think because they had a Kickstarter for the Critical Role stuff, and then they got their goal, and then like a distributor streaming site reached out and said, "Hey, we'll pick."
Yeah, it's Amazon Prime. It's what it's
okay.
Gonna be on.
Oh, it's Amazon Prime. Okay, yeah. But what I wanted to add to this is that it does make sense for streaming services to do this stuff nowadays, because like with streaming services, they are a lot more open to be experimental. So I'm not surprised that we are at a point where they want to experiment with trying to create content based on podcasts, where they would take some kind of podcast and they would turn it into whatever they would want, rather it be like an animated series or turn it into like its own TV show or something like that. Like we are at the point where stuff like Netflix or Amazon would be willing to try something new.
I think because they're a lot more. It's like a brave new world of like what audiences you have coming to the streaming services. There's not as many, I'd imagine, regulations compared to television channels, which might change in the future. I don't know. I think it's cool that streaming services do have more flexibility to like talk about the content that they want and giving freedom to the creators to make it. Like Love, Death, and Robots is so cool. I love that they made that and that it's up on Netflix. Because I don't think it ever would have found a place on a television channel. Maybe like, I don't know, Adult Swim, maybe, but I don't think Adult Swim would have paid for it exactly. It's cool. The game's changing a bit, and streaming services are part of that when it comes to entertainment and how it's rolling out and what they make.
Oh, absolutely. But I mean, like nowadays we are still in a transitioning phase with streaming services, especially soon we're going to have Peacock and we're going to have HBO Max. So like once the streaming wars are going to be in full swing, maybe that's going to change a little bit. But for now, we are definitely seeing more companies being more open to abstract ideas like turning podcasts into shows. And honestly, I think Netflix, like they'll get something good and pretty strong with the Midnight Gospel. I think this is already going to be a pretty solid win for them with this series. I think it's going to go pretty well for them.
Yes, we'll see what happens. I look forward to watching it. It looks cool.
Absolutely. So once again, folks, if you are interested in checking out the Midnight Gospel, it will be on Netflix on April 20th, which is going to be about next week, I would say. Yeah, about next week. Like a few more days.
It's on a Monday.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty soon. So with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to go and ask you all, what do you think of the Midnight Gospel trailer? Is it a show that you guys would be interested in checking out? Is the Pendleton Ward name enough for you to go and see his latest project after Adventure Time? Or are you a little too creeped out about this series? Let me know what you think. Alright, let's see. Well, this looks intriguing. The comedy's pretty good, the visual style is really creative with its 80s rock band poster vibe, And guys, it finally happened. We finally got an adult animated series that actually has good animation. Anyways, I'll probably check this out depending on whether or not the Willoughbys is on by then. I think that one is being released on the 22nd, but anyways. But I'll have to add, releasing the show on 420, nice. Is the second season going to be released on the 9th of June? Oh, dude. I get where you're going with that one there. Anyways, let's see. I do love watching some trippy animation, so I will definitely try to watch it at some point. Though there is the big question. Will this somehow be weirder than 1982's The Treasure Planet? Not likely, I guess. I don't know. The Treasure Planet is very unique in its weirdness. I don't think not even this can ever achieve the levels of The Treasure Planet. Okay. Anyways, how about this one? Talk about Adventure Time on Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Also, the fact that this show is coming to Netflix a day after my birthday makes it even better. Although I haven't seen all the Adventure Time episodes, I do enjoy the series a lot, and I am getting into his other shows. Bravest Warriors and this perhaps will not be disappointments. The only problem is that my parents get cranky when they see me watch adult animation, especially BoJack Horseman and Big Mouth, despite me being in my 20s. I mean, parents be parents, you know.
That sucks.
Yeah. Don't worry, they'll learn to understand you're an adult one day. Let's see. I never listened to the podcast, but I like trippy stuff and seems like something I would watch while on something, if you catch my meaning. Oh yeah, for those people, they are gonna have a blast with this thing. I mean, why else would it be released on 420? Let's hope Netflix doesn't cancel this after one season because the algorithm says so. Looking at you, Tuca and Birdie. Oh, yeah. Oof. Yeah, that was a little bit of a mistake and a half with what happened with Tuca and Birdie. All right. I'll go and read one more before we jump into the next story. This looks like the trippiest cartoon. This is too weird for Netflix. I expect this to be on Adult Swim than Netflix. I'm worried this is a show that puts more emphasis on the animation than the story. This looks like King Star King done right. Tell Saberspark I said hi. Love his work. Okay, that's
thank
very
you.
Nice. All right. Yeah, but you know, honestly, the fact that it does have Penn Ward, I trust that he will put importance on the story. Like, I know that we just had our introduction and we're seeing a lot of weird things going on with the animation, but I trust the guy knows that storytelling is going to be most important than anything else. So with him in charge, I think like you'll be in for something that's a little bit more deeper than weird space-like imagery. All right. Anyway, so with all that said, let's move on to the next story that I have here. And so far lately, we have seen a lot of movie delays, and because of this whole pandemic, we're not going to get movies until, like, sometime at the end of the summer or something like that. But I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that this is the first time that we actually got a TV show, or at least an animated series, that's getting delayed due to this pandemic. And what I'm talking about is Archer. Yes, season 11 of Archer has been announced that it is going to be delayed by FXX, mainly because of the coronavirus pandemic. More specifically, though, is because they don't have enough time to finish things up for season 11. To read a little bit from my source here on Deadline, it states, Archer, as with most other animated series, has been able to continue production during the coronavirus crisis, but things have slowed down due to the new challenges of virtual production, making it impossible to meet the May 6th deadline, the network says. So that's currently the situation that's going on with Archer, is that things are still working well with the show, but unfortunately, they have to go and delay it. Guys, have you seen Archer, just out of curiosity? Are you guys Archer fans?
I know of it.
I
don't watch it religiously though.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen a few episodes, but I didn't really get into it.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's interesting that that's being delayed.
yeah, but one thing that like I'm honestly on the same page as you, where I have seen some episodes but I haven't seen all. But it is actually pretty interesting where we are starting to see even animated series that are getting delayed because of this. And I'm actually curious to know, do you guys think that this is starting, will this become more of a thing? Are we going to start seeing more animated series being delayed because of this pandemic, even though they are still able to work at home?
I'm gonna say that there's gonna be a lot of stuff that was meant to come out next year that is just gonna be delayed until like 2022 because like for like a lot of the production stuff and pre-production stuff that is happening for shows that are meant to come out in 2021, we won't even hear about until like later that year. Because I was thinking about like, oh yeah, what's going to happen to like the storyboard artists and everything, and like the story meetings, um, for
Yeah.
like, yeah, for shows that are in production now. That yeah, it seems like next year is going to be pretty bare for new series.
Yeah, because I
So
keep hearing about all these articles and all these stories where they're pretty much all saying that things are going well for animation, where despite people working at home, they're still able to do their stuff. They're still able to create their animations. But what they don't fully discuss about is the fact that there are still some obstacles that they have to face where like even though they can work at home, that doesn't mean there are still some issues that they have to face. And for me, at least, I feel like that Archer is not going to be the only one. That I feel like there's still going to be more, and like not only shows that are in pre-production, but I feel like shows that are also in post-production are also in trouble right now. Not just like you say that there's going to be a lot of shows in 2021 that are going to be delayed. I personally believe many of the shows, even for this year, the new shows that are going to be coming out in 2020, those as well are going to be delayed. Like I know.
oh yeah, that's what I was getting at was like not only the shows this year, but the shows next year. So you're going to see this like bleed over into next year. Um,
Mhm.
and what's interesting about the people not being able to work from home, but some other studios I saw recently with Leica, they got to go into the studio to do the stop motion stuff, but apparently they are like paying their employees like
Mhm.
their full checks, their full salary.
Yeah, they're
Because
still on the
like
they're
Travis
still on
Knight
the
is the head of that, and like he's it's something like he's like the son of the CEO of Nike or something. He's like so he's like super rich, and like Leica's just a like a passion project of his. Um,
Get that Mikey fortune. Or
yeah,
Nike fortune.
yeah.
Well, I mean, like the like recently the Leica movies have unfortunately not been making money. Like the like Missing Link, it barely made
Yeah.
like much money at the box office anyway.
Yeah, that's why like Leica is like that studio is just a passion project.
Exactly.
Yeah, it defies. It's because the person in charge of it isn't. They're an artist, not a business person. Like that's
Yeah.
that's their motif, I guess. I don't know. Compared to
Yeah.
like other companies where it's like, this didn't do well. All right, we might have to exit then.
Yeah, that's the beauty of Leica is that that they're doing it for the art and they're not doing it for the money because they're not getting money in the first place. No, but
Yeah, when I heard that like they were like even though they're not going to the work, I was like, oh, you're already working on the next one? Well, like,
yeah,
so whatever the
they're
next
still,
Leica film is.
yeah, they're still working on it. They're still doing well. It's just like they're just dependent on the Nike money, considering that
Yeah.
it is true. It's all owned by Phil Knight, who's I believe he's not just the CEO. He's like the founder of Nike. So like they got all their they got everything set up. And you know, with the thing with Leica, you know, it's really nice of them that at least they're keeping their animators on the payroll. So at least we are safe to know that they are fine. But it is true that when it comes to other animation mediums, like with stop motion, like at this point, they're definitely not like 2D or 3D animation. Like they're definitely at a point where they're in a massive standstill, and what they have to do now is maybe the things that they can do at home. And I will say, I think storyboarding nowadays is one of them where they can do at home, where they do have digital, like they got digital softwares that they can actually present storyboards in, like, not necessarily in the classical way with the giant boards and stuff with the little papers. Like, now they can all do it digitally. So, like, setting things up for, so like at best is that so far this is a great time to go and handle the story and to work on like what needs fixing and what needs adjusting and stuff like that. So at least they do have that. But when it comes to many of the others, like, honestly, it's really the post-production that I'm thinking that really is the true problem here, and what really is causing a lot of delays. And especially the best example that I can think of is regarding Minions: The Rise of Gru, because that, like, right now the production is being delayed to next year, mainly because like right now Minions is in post-production and they can't really do anything about it. Like when you think about what they need to add now, like music and stuff like that, well, they can't do music because, well, they need an orchestra. And I mean, how can you have an orchestra and do social distancing at the same time? You know, it doesn't really work like that. So, but there are plenty of other things that they have to do where they would require, like, to go to another studio and stuff, which cannot be possible right now. So at this point, I think, especially for the TV shows of 2020, we're going to see a lot of delays. We're going to be seeing a lot of shows that are meant to be released right now, but they won't be released until like a full year. So I think Archer is not going to be the last one. It might be the first, but it certainly won't be the last. All right, so I think you guys all good with this? You guys all right?
Yeah, I don't have much to say outside of that. So, well said.
All right, that's good. So now I would like to go into the chat wall, and I want to pass on the mic to you. And I would like to ask you all, what do you think about Archer being delayed? And do you think we're going to see more animated TV shows that are going to be delayed due to this pandemic? Let me know what you all think. Let's see. I tried watching a few episodes of Archer, and it was a slog for me to get through. The animation style is great, but the character personalities, antics, and humor style is a complete turnoff for me, so this news doesn't really bother me, honestly. Alright. Well, I mean, I guess not everyone is sad about this. Let's see. I've never been too affiliated with Archer, but I have to give props to Adam Reed and his team for keeping their workers safe in this tough time. And I'm not sure, but I think Family Guy are doing the same thing. Although I will admit, I'm a bit disappointed that I'm not a psychic, because I was predicting Soul would be next in line. I guess Pixar is being as stubborn with their release date as Nickelodeon was with Sponge on the Run. Yeah, I'm just gonna say right now. Go on.
I was gonna say I'm predicting that Soul's gonna be moved to like November, probably.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm predicting as well. I think the chances are growing stronger and stronger that Soul is gonna be moved to November, and Raya and the Last Dragon is gonna be in March 2021 or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that's what's gonna be happening. Let's see. Do we have anything else? No, so far, I think, alright. Never saw Archer, but we are definitely getting more cartoons delayed because of this pandemic. Oh, there we go. Oh, wait. Oh, we got one more. Okay, now the comments are rolling in. Let's see now. Which one should I go with? I'm glad to see that these studios are taking this seriously and are treating their workers well during this. I think almost every project is delayed, even those we don't know about. I like Archer, though. I'm not a diehard fan. I would say that season 1 isn't that great. Okay, fair enough. Let's see. Was Archer made in Adobe Animate or Toon Boom? That I'm not 100% sure. With this kind of animation, I thought it wouldn't be too difficult to work on during the pandemic. However, it's the other stuff I should be concerned, like editing and music. There you go. I heard some animation studio workers are working from home, but it doesn't make things faster during production. Thankfully, I'm a home alone guy working on my own animations. Maybe not as grand looking as Archer, but it's something I'm proud of, mostly. Alright, that's great, dude. That's real nice. And finally, we are at our last story, the grand finale. And this was something that I previously talked about. And oh man, I am excited for this because the legends are true. The story is real. It actually did happen. It's real. The Butthole Cut is real. Now, if you don't know what I am talking about, yes, there is actual confirmation that there is indeed a Butthole Cut of the 2019 movie of Cats. And this was actually revealed in an article of the Daily Beast, where one of the visual effects artists stepped in and discussed about his experience about working on the Cats movie, and at one point that he had to go and edit out what looked like buttholes on the cat characters. To read a little bit from my source here on /films, the visual effects artist, which was not named here, it states, per their report, Cats was halfway complete when someone finally noticed the buttholes. We paused it. A source who worked on the film's visual effects said. We went to call our supervisor and we were like, there's a fucking asshole in there. There's buttholes. It wasn't prominent, but you saw it. And you were just like, what the hell is that? There's a fucking butthole in there. It wasn't in your face, but at the same time, too, if you were looking, you will see it. The visual effects artist also went on to discuss about their experience with working with director Tom Hooper, which apparently he was a nightmare to work with because he had no idea what the fridge is going on with the visual effects process. He doesn't know how it works, but apparently he just wants things to go his way. In fact, to read a little bit more, the visual effects artist stated, before visual effects artists fully render sequences for animated films, they normally show directors playbacks, previews rendering that feature character without colors or textures, that allows the director to evaluate the motion before hours of work are done to flesh out things like color, texture, and lighting. Hooper, however, did not seem to grasp that process. Anytime the visual effects team wanted to show the director any animatics, the source said, they had to fully render it. Otherwise, he'd say things like, "What is this garbage?" and "I don't understand. Where's the fur?" And the visual effects artist also described Tom Hooper as disrespectful, demeaning, condescending, and horrible, and adds that he talks to everyone like garbage. So yeah, apparently it's a little glimpse to the making of the Cats movie. And guys, I just want to ask, are you surprised by this?
I'm surprised at how he acted with the animators, like having to render it every time, like fully, like just to show what.
No, that's disgusting. I don't know why they even thought it was like. Why would you put buttholes in your anthro-human characters? It's just weird.
Well, from the previous stories that I've heard, from what I've heard so far with the whole Butthole Cut thing, it's not on purpose. It it was like accidentally made. It's the computer software itself that ended up making something that did look like a butthole. I don't think there's actual visual effects artists that went in and designed these characters and looked at it and said, you know what these need? They need a butthole. I'm sure people are curious to know, how do they poop? So here you go. All right, there we go. Lunchtime. So it's not something
As if
like
this
that.
film was already.
Yeah, I know.
This movie is already cursed. I'm surprised that Sonic doesn't have a butthole cut too.
Oh God, with that old design. Ew.
Right. I don't know. I guess. So does the cut actually exist? Like, is it out there for distribution, or is it like gone?
I don't know. Like, I think probably it must have been cut out at some point. I think, like, if Universal would be serious to go and actually create the create a butthole cut, like, they would do some they would actually do some editing where they have to pretty much take away the work that was done in order to go and remove them. But this is all based on, like, a Twitter campaign, you know, like a satire of the Snyder Cut, where, like, people would go and say, #release the butthole cut. Like, that's the big thing with this. That's why people are saying the butthole cut. It's more of a satire of that. But I think, like, from this indicator, it's like, I would say the best answer is maybe. But
well, I guess but I guess we'll see what happens, right?
yeah, I don't know. Like, well, at this point, Universal has lost so much money, but I will say one thing that I will comment on, however, is that I'm honestly really not surprised of the way that Tom Hooper acted. Like, none at all. Mainly because, considering the position that Cats is right now, considering that Cats is one of the, like, right now, one of the most talked about worst movies of all time kind of thing, like, it doesn't surprise me that in the behind the scenes, it involves a director that doesn't know what he's doing. Because honestly, through my research, I've heard so many times of this story where you would have this director who's just so full of himself, but in actuality has no idea what he's doing, and everyone else is just going through hell just for the sake of making this movie. You know, I've heard the story talked about, like, for The Room with Tommy Wiseau, and I've heard this with Food Fight with Larry Kasanoff. So it doesn't surprise me that with Tom Hooper, considering he's a director that has only worked with live action stuff, and this is his first CG heavy feature, that he wouldn't necessarily have an idea to know what he is doing, and that only he would think that with these cat characters, he would believe this is a good idea.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. This year's cursed. It's cursed. Sorry.
Yeah.
2019's not done with us yet.
Yeah. Paleo, just out of curiosity, I know Saber has seen the movie. Have you seen the film, though?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Oh, God.
It's,
yeah, I can actually say I've finally seen it myself as well. I've finally seen the movie. In fact, there's one thing I could show you, and you guys would probably be ashamed of me, but I got the Blu-ray. I actually bought it. Go on.
It's not a bad film. It's not bad. It's just weird. I mean, like, there's bad things in it, and there's things they could have done much better. But all in all, I wouldn't say it's like, oh,
like,
yeah,
when I saw it in theaters, it felt like I was being held hostage, like, by the music. The music was, like, so weird to me because I had never seen the musical at all. So when I watched it, I was like, am I being tortured? Like, when I was just sitting at the theater.
Yeah, you know, I will say, though, like, you might feel tortured, but the truth is, I would actually go and say that Cats is kind of a faithful adaptation to the musical. Like, what you see in this is mostly what you would get in the stage musical. It's almost the same thing. Like, they did some changes as well, but for the most part, that's basically what happens. Minus replace the CGI with costumes, and Yeah, that's what you get with this. Yeah. Just out of curiosity, Saber, do you have any more thoughts on Cats, or is it just the fact that it's cursed and that's it?
I mean, it's cursed. It's this amalgamation of, like, I mean, Ian McKellen. You know, when I saw him in that, I was like, Ian, what happened?
Yeah.
Like this film. I mean, it could have worked, but like it's almost like I'm glad it turned out the way it did, because it's so much more outrageous and bizarre and weird, and that makes it to me more impactful and interesting than something that could have been like really good. I know that sounds weird. I mean, I guess it's a two-way street, and it depends on the person in question what they want out of it.
Yeah, I mean, if that original like 2D film from the 90s happened, it probably would have been like, you know, just an underrated gem that nobody talked about like for a long time.
Absolutely. I mean, like, technically animation would be the only way to properly adapt Cats in order to actually do a film adaptation of it, or if you want to do a screen adaptation. I mean, like, it's literally about cats, so why not feature animated cats? You know, do something like do something in the veins of like Ghibli's The Cat Returns. I'm sure you could find a way to make it work. Or better yet, like you can make them a little bit anthropomorphic as well. Do it in the style of like Cats Don't Dance, for example.
Yeah, that's what that concept art from the I forgot what studio was it. Filmation?
No,
that was like trying to do it.
Emblemation.
Emblemation.
Because Spielberg wanted to do it, and I think I believe he is attached to the new movie as well, considering that Amblin is actually one of the studios behind Cats. Like, I remember, I remember watching the movie, and I saw that Amblin like the new polished Amblin logo, and it's like, Spielberg, you're still attached to this? You're still involved with this? You okayed this? Like, honestly, it surprised me. Oh boy, but yeah, I will say that at this point, if they actually would do I guess if they would do a Butthole Cut, it would depend on the cult status of Cats, because we are at the point where it is starting to become like one of those fan favorite worst movies kind of thing. And if it does develop into a cult, then I could see Universal do something. Like, rather if it be like for a Peacock exclusive, or they want to do something or they just want to do something special for the fans or something like that. Like, I can imagine there could be a possibility that could come to light one day if they can manage to retrieve the files of it. Like, who knows? Because it is true that there is still that possibility of win, mainly because, well, sadly, the studio did... the studio that did the visuals did shut down, unfortunately. So there is that, too, because it is NPC Vancouver that did work on it. And it wasn't long before the movie was released when the studio just went kaput. So there is that as well. But, yeah, apparently this was the whole thing, and yeah, still not surprised at all of Tom Hooper's treatment to the animators and the whole behind the scenes story. It's a story I've heard before, but it's a story that never gets old, and it's never not interesting. Alright, so I think with that said, I'll go and pass this onto the chat wall, and I'll go and ask you all, what do you think about the possibility of the Butthole Cut being real and now being more true? And what do you think about Tom Hooper and how he treated the visual effects artists according to this this one visual effects artist? Let me know what you all think. Alright, let's see now. I always thought the Butthole Cut of Cats 2019 was a hoax. It's a big surprise that it's real, but the bigger surprise was just how much of a bully Tom Hooper was during production of this film. I don't think Universal is going to let him anywhere near the future productions ever again after all that. Yeah, I think, well, unfortunately, I think it's safe to say that his reputation and his name has been tarnished because of this film. Like, even without like revealing how he treated his animators, during the production of this. I think the movie alone really did a number on his career. Okay. Let's see. Jesus, why? All the not safe for work artists everywhere would make cats so lewd. No, they wouldn't. Not even the not safe for work artists would want to touch this. It might cause it might let's see. But thank everyone else, I am not ready to see cats, but with fully nude without busting a nut, such a catastrophe and redunculous. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, like, the movie itself is already way too horny and already has way too much naked cats. So it's like, it's uncomfortably horny. Like, you know, you don't need an artist to add anything else. The movie has already done the job itself. It's already a living DeviantArt film. Alright, let's see now. I swear, this movie is just the gift that keeps on giving. From the bonkers execution to Tom Hooper thinking cats dance, and no, not the cats in the movie, but actual cats. And now a cut where everyone has a booty hole. Where's the disaster artist book of this film? I swear, if that's a thing, I would read the hell out of it. But what's next? A cut of the film where they didn't neuter Jason Derulo's Wang? Yeah, who knows? Oh my god, but that would actually work out very well. If someone would actually make a book about the making of the Cats movie, I think that would actually do very well. Oh my god, I would definitely go and read it. That would be quite a bestseller there. In fact, I mean, like, the guy who wrote this article, like, why don't he do it? Why wouldn't he do it? I mean, he already got some juicy stories, like with the whole butthole thing. Like, why not add more? Like, this guy should be in charge about making that book. Let's see now. Oh, I swear, this movie is just the gift that keeps on giving. From its oh, wait a minute. Nope, never mind. I already read that one. Sorry about that. Let's see. I can't believe this Butthole Cut actually existed. I didn't want to believe it, but now I believe it. But this evidence proves alone on why Tom Hooper is a bad director in general, since he cares more about about style than substance in all of his films. I don't care if they want to defend him. He's not a good director in general. I would debate that, actually. As for the cut itself, I don't want to see it because this just adds more nightmare fuel to me. So, nope, don't want to see it. Why not, man? Why not just put it out just for the madness to grow even further? We need to see how far this thing can go. How far can we go until the whole world says stop, that it's too much? Alright, I'll go and read one more. Let's see. Oh man, this is interesting. Nobody asked for this, and nobody wants this. 2019 was not a good year for cats. Rather it be this film, or the death of Grumpy Cat, or a rise in stray cats on the street. One thing that confuses me is whether this film is animated like Mars Needs Moms, or it's live action. Be thankful that the Garfield reboot didn't come out during 2019. Oh, but there is that Garfield musical, though. That is a thing that exists. Have you guys ever heard of that?
No.
No,
What about the Garfield musical without Garfield?
Oh god. Yeah, I'm sure that is a thing as well. But if you look it up, there actually is a Garfield musical where it's a little bit like the Cats musical, where it's actually people dressed up as Garfield characters, like in fursuits, makeup, and all. And the result is it's interesting. It's a thing. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna go and show you here. Garfield musical. I don't know if you guys can see. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, yeah, this is the one. This is the image.
Oh my god.
Yeah, hold on a second. It's like, it's right here. This is, I don't know if you guys can see it on Twitch, but this is...
Wow, it does look like cats.
Yeah. It's Garfield.
As far as, like, the makeup.
Oh, hold on a second. Oh, God, I don't know what happened. Yeah, we also got, they also got Nermal, they got Arlene, they also got Odie. I don't know why it suddenly decided to go up for some reason, but hold on, I just need to refresh. I don't know what is happening with this version. I just want to make sure. Yeah, there we go. Now we got all the characters. Like, we got Garfield, we got Odie, we got Nermal, we got Arlene. Yeah, this is pretty much, it's like Cats, but in Garfield form. And boy, yeah, this is a real thing. Oh God, why? I wonder if they would ever.
Why?
What?
The Garfield looks like he's being played by Orson Welles.
Oh my God! If he were alive, he would. He honestly would.
I hate Mondays.
The lasagna. Oh my God. But with that said, I think this will conclude today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Saber, Paleo, thank you so much for joining me on this 100th episode. You guys have definitely been amazing on this. And one more thing before we head off, I would like to ask you, if there are people that would like to go and follow you, where can we find you on the internet?
On YouTube and Twitter, PaleoSteno. You just type that in. And those are where I post videos on YouTube about movies, and I'm going to be doing some stuff on Adventure Time soon, doing some season reviews. And on Twitter, I talk about animation as well, but also mostly video games lately because I've been playing a lot of Animal Crossing. So yeah, so Twitter and YouTube.
All right.
Cool. Same thing with me. I'm on Twitter and YouTube. That's the two big places where I participate. So, yep, YouTube and Twitter.
Yeah, and Saber, by the way, aren't you close to 1 million subscribers, by the way? Or I don't know, maybe I saw someone else, but is that the case with your YouTube channel?
Sorry, you cut out for a second. I think my internet's been kind of wonky. One more time.
Is it true that your YouTube channel is getting close to 1 million subscribers?
Yes. Yeah, it's kind of surreal. It's neat to think it might get there.
Holy, yeah, I know. Like, I think the whole animation community is rooting for you on that one. All right, and also don't forget to go and check out Paleo as well. He's got some amazing videos as well on video games and animation. But with all that said, I also want to go and thank you all for 100 episodes, and let's hope for 100 more and see what will happen in the future. But with all that said, I would like to say thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening, and until next time, see you later, dudes. You can
Bye.
Bye.